goodness. So what's really good on this particular map on Busan is to be able to hold high ground or take high ground. I know that's what we do to start. Okay, so getting in position, shielding the team, great fire strike to start. That's a very good first kill. Dropping down to go after the team that's down on the point. Okay, both of the healers down. You can probably be pretty aggressive here. Alright. It's a really good start. Okay, what you should be doing here is pushing up, holding the doors from this point. Okay, I'm curious to see how this plays out because I don't know why you backed off from holding the two spawn doors and trying to hold high ground. Yeah, the entire enemy team is transitioning to the high ground, and you try to move back. Lose your Junkrat. Okay, we're gonna look at this from the top-down view for here in a second. So that entire fight, you actually did nothing. Especially as a main tank player, what you want to be doing is making sure that you're, first off, holding control of the high ground. And what you did is you didn't really create any space for your team. You just let them kind of take over the high ground. And then you transitioned and did absolutely nothing for that next fight. So I know you need to get healed up here. Okay. So right now, the other team is regrouping. What you should be doing on Busan is start off by kind of holding... There's three main points that they come through. There's one here. You have another one down at the doors here. And then you have one that they can come below and onto point. What a lot of gold players like to do is for some reason just stand on point, which is, especially as a main tank player, a terrible idea to do. Because you're allowing the team to dictate where they want to go. And likely what happens, or actually what does happen in this scenario, is they end up taking the high ground where your Ashe, which is of course me in this particular situation, already has, and you want the Ashe to keep this high ground position. So everyone should be transitioning up to high ground here. Probably something we all should have called out, but let's kind of pay attention to what happens here. So you go to block the lower door. At least you're making an attempt to kind of hold that forward position. But as you drop back, you're literally having the entire enemy team do whatever they want to. And then what happens here? Your Ashe is getting pressured, so I'm getting pressured from up top. You're for some reason transitioning to this weird high ground position that really doesn't have any value. So by this time, if you notice, your DPS player had to back all the way off because you're getting so much pressure from Hog, Junkrat, and Lucio. So the problem is here is because you allowed this high ground to get taken over, they completely collapsed on the team. And this actually sounds pretty harsh, but as a main tank player, your job is to make sure you keep those positions. And this fight was lost because of your positioning. So now you guys got a couple kills there. Maybe you can capitalize on it. Okay, you're dropping down, transitioning to the fight. you've got really good aim with your fire strikes. Your Bob accidentally gets thrown off. That's not good. Should be able to just... You gotta wait out, make sure that the Zarya bubble is gone. It's when you're playing against Roadhog and Zarya, which is the main two combination right now, all you have to do is wait for bubbles, and you pretty much get free shatters. That's a hell of a pin. Yeah, your fire strikes are really good on point. I think there was just a lot of poorly used ultimates. The Diva Bomb could have been thrown on point, but that's not on you. So I think your skills on Reinhardt are good, but I think you definitely need to work on your positioning. So now what you're looking to do... Okay. This is a huge mistake that a lot of Winston players do. They instantly jump and throw their bubble. You don't want to be wasting both cooldowns right away. There is no real hardcore immediate threat. And if you're that scared to jump on top of the Junkrat, it just wasn't a good selection. You should be trying to figure out, like, if you should be trying to figure out to go after the Hanzo or the Mercy, maybe even the Lucio. But once you use this bubble, you can't really go on the point. You can't do anything. You're kind of holding this high ground, but you're not really doing a whole heck of a lot right now. So you don't want to be just using that bubble. I like that. Okay, he held off there. And then the Hanzo just gets pocketed hard. But you see how you commit in right there with no bubble? It's a good thing. The problem is with Busan, there's not a lot of places to hide, so good thing that the walls are up right now. And the off-tank there is just doing a really good job of bubbling their teammate. So on this entire fight, this entire round, one of the big problems stem from you not holding that high ground and taking the pressure to the team to where they didn't get an opportunity to come onto the high ground, pressure your team, and you were just kind of transitioning and not doing a lot almost that entire part. And then once your team kind of gets whittled down, by the time you get a chance to recover, it's a little bit too late. So you really need to do a better job of, I kind of hate using this term because I think it's overused and most people don't understand it, but in this particular case it's creating space for your team, and that space is, if the enemy team ends up taking like the low ground, that's fine. If you establish having the high ground, your Ashe or whomever is playing from up top is going to rain down fire freely, and you won't even recognize it, but you'll see that the players that you're going after are getting killed and shot at and uncontested. Okay, so now you're switched over to Roadhog. This map is a lot more brawly. You have a Tracer and a Reaper for your two DPS players. This plays a lot more in tight corridors, not as much as needing high ground unless someone's taking the box up top for like as a Widowmaker, but even then players in this elo aren't really good at using those positions too. So of course I'm going to be looking to see how good you are with your hooks. That's a very good hook to start. Surprised the Junkrat or the Roadhog didn't die there. Okay, he eventually did die. Waiting it out. Unfortunate hook right there. So far I like the patience. You ended up getting a kill eventually with that one hook. Okay. Really good work with the hook so far. that's the biggest thing about Roadhog. If you do not land hooks, you should not be playing Roadhog. That's where 80% of his power is. He's pretty much high pick potential. You pulled the Roadhog first, and it puts him really in a bad position to start, and then you end up getting a squishy target. So I'm curious to see what target you're looking for next. I like how you didn't just go for the Roadhog. That was kind of rushed. You should be pressuring that Hanzo there, especially if you've got Breather. Leaving him alone on the left-hand side for someone else to deal with, unless you're calling that out or something, you shouldn't just be leaving him there. Okay, so you go back after him. Good. Okay, so a little bit of poor hook accuracy now at this point. Okay, you're backing off. Your team is regrouping, which is good. That's good awareness. Sometimes just using Breather there isn't really always a good idea because you already have your ultimate, and now you don't have your Breather going into this fight. You may want to check to see where your healer is so they can get ult charge, because right now your other teammates only have around 50%. You already have your ult, so now you're just getting no value, or I should say very little value, only to be able to engage into the fight next. So I wouldn't necessarily just use Breather there right away. Okay, you're looking for a hook, trying to find someone on the back line. This is good. The thing is too, if you're gonna be playing a Roadhog Diva, I get that you're looking for the right occasion to hook and kill somebody, but no one's really paying attention to you, and tanks to a certain degree also need to take some pressure, or take some pressure off the rest of the team. You're just kind of waiting here for the perfect moment. You either need to get more confident with your hooks and get the Junkrat or someone really quick and get the kill, or start shooting. And the reason why I say that is they're just freely popping off in your team with a Diva as their other tank, and the team needs the pressure relieved off of them, and you just kind of just like sitting around here waiting for the perfect hook. Now, that's a really good hook. But you get what I'm saying is sometimes waiting just forever for the perfect opportunity can sometimes, especially in gold, you're going to get gold players that don't wait around and are just going to rush in eventually, and most of your team's going to die, and you just were trying to wait for that perfect kill. There we go. Really good hooks there. Good kills. Like to see you get some forward pressure. That's making a play right there. That's a really good hook on that Mercy. Nice job. You're doing a really good job of getting these squishy targets too. Use Breather, get out of there. That's perfect use of Breather. That's awesome. Just trying to randomly pull someone right there. Pretty good beat by your Lucio player. And now you're pressuring. For some reason you don't know where the Pharah is. Just be able to know if those bombs are hitting you, that there's a Pharah somewhere. And that's a fine use of Breather there because you don't have your ultimate yet. Looking for a hook. Oh my goodness. Those are very difficult hooks to get. So far what I can tell is I'm not sure if you're trying to learn more about main tank play or off tank play. It seems like you definitely are a better off tank player because you're making a high impact because you're getting high impact kills, and main tank just a totally different mindset, because you need to be able to you're relieving pressure off the team in a different way. You're doing it by like suffocating the team, especially as a Reinhardt, holding high grounds, making sure that they can't get into proper positioning. Players like Roadhog and Zarya, which are looking for high pick potentials, good kills, sometimes going on flanks, sometimes covering your backline. In this case, you don't need to cover your backline so much. But those are great kills right there, because now they're going into the fight without a DPS player. Yeah, your hooks are getting spot on. And those are great right clicks. Or I should say right trigger. Use breather to get out that ultimate. Okay, you guys are down a few. So do you need to regroup? Should probably... Okay, you've now hooked a Mercy and the Pharah twice out of the air. Now I know it's kind of easy getting the Pharah as she's ulting, but still having the awareness to be able to do that. I like this. You're actually biding some time, pushing the Mercy off. You're killing the Hanzo, retreating using cover. Oh my goodness. That was just unfortunate that you didn't land a few of those shots. Then you tried to do it again. Okay, so in general there, if you land hooks like that, you'll have no problem in these games ranking up. Just have a little bit more confidence. It seems like you should have the confidence in your hook and try not to slow down the pressure so much. I know just doing random shots isn't always a good idea, but sometimes it does relieve the pressure, even getting people to focus on you. But the patience did end up paying off on that Mercy. So really good there. So this particular map is definitely... This is, in my opinion, a little bit more of a difficult map from a main tank point of view, just from the standpoint of it's very open and there's a lot of angles, but also if you guys don't have a shield tank, which is fine, I think way too many people complain about not having a shield tank, is because this is so open, you're gonna have to find ways to get on certain angles to get kills. Otherwise, you're on the open, it's just gonna be feeding ult charge. So you're gonna have to get kills pretty quickly on this one. So they're going Reinhardt Zarya. So they're going to be able to sustain in these fights a little bit more. You've got to get quick picks here, and if you don't, then you're going to struggle. Your D.Va kind of goes in really deep to start there. So again, this is the hard part now, is being Hog. You're trying to use natural cover. Your entire team is exposed, where they're able to kind of also use cover and the Reinhardt. And you're trying to find a way to get around them to get a pick. And this is where it's going to be really important to land your hooks, because you lost one of your DPS players. Now, you're doing the right thing for peeling for your Bastion on this to try and get the Tracer. But again, now the entire team is out in the open, and there's real no pressure. So you had the right mentality. Go back, help the Tracer. To be honest, the D.Va should probably be the one doing this. This is why this is a very weird tank lineup, because the D.Va has higher mobility, and you should be staying more on the front line for this fight. But you had the right mentality to do this, but the entire team collapses, and now you're just kind of losing this fight. getting pressured. So you're backing off. Tracer's poking you. And this is where, if you're not going to be landing hooks, at this point, you're going to really struggle to do anything as Roadhog. And that's exactly your problem here. So you went from landing really, really good hooks in tight corridors, and now there's a lot more open space, and you need to be able to land them. And now you lost both of your healers. So you guys should just be regrouping here. I mean, you only got one DPS kill. Yeah. And this is just bad team play. You shouldn't be rushing in here. You're pretty much dead here. This is a really poor decision. Because now you're going to get really poorly staggered. And so this is another issue, is you got way too aggressive trying to do something there against the entire enemy team. And it sounds weird because I know that you're playing multiple different tanks. You should probably be swapping here, even with you having whole hog. So you can hear the tracer on the side. You see that this bad stagger of yours right now, by the time you get back, now again, this is on the team to a certain degree to not wait, but because you get so badly staggered and it's already at 70%, you're kind of in last fight territory. So you almost need to regroup fast and wait for 85%, because that's usually the magic number. But you kind of have to wait it out right here, which you guys do, which is good. Good hook on the Mercy. The Mercy's ulting, so that's a hard kill to get, and that's okay. So this could be, but this is gonna be your final push. Whenever you're at like 85%, you are at last fight territory. So you got the kill. You don't want to wait too long, and you lose your. See how bad the staggers can be because you lost one of your DPS players right there. Get a couple kills. You guys are winning this fight, but now, because they haven't used any ultimates, really, they didn't need to. They were able to hold all those ultimates to this last fight, and this is just pretty much going to be a lost fight. So in general, what I can tell is you have actually really good mechanical skill. You landed a lot of fire strikes. You landed a lot of good hooks. You're able to get a lot of good kills on Roadhog. But in general, and you have a tendency to actually back off when you kind of need to, but the issue becomes is you've made two major mistakes. And one is, as the Reinhardt, not holding the high ground for your team, and then also not really doing a good job of getting out of the fight with the Roadhog in this particular instance, to where this is the kind of stuff that snowballs, especially in gold. I mean, people don't recognize this a lot of times, but again, look how many people have died. You're moving in now for the fight. You have just your two tank players, and the rest of your team, and this is at 44%. This is why, people don't recognize, oh, they're only halfway to winning this round. But because of this stagger ends up creating a situation to where now, if you notice, your Lucio's running way out. So I don't know if the Lucio is going out there to try to help you out, but that could be really bad if this Lucio gets overextended. Okay, so everyone groups up, but now you're waiting. Then one of your DPS players is going out on front, which is pretty typical for gold games, not really being patient. The good thing is your Lucio taxied you here, but you go out here, they're trying to play without you guys. and you lose both your Diva Mech and your Junkrat. Now, people have a tendency to not want to put the ownership on themselves. They'll sit there and say, well, it's my team's fault for going out there and fighting before me coming back, but it's your fault for getting overextended on a fight that was already lost that you weren't going to create any value on. So you kind of create this snowball effect, and you have to realize that when you're playing as a tank player, you're supposed to be dictating these fights, and gold players aren't going to wait for you. They just don't. Now, because we should be playing better together, we should be calming this, that's unfortunate. But now, this fight, you almost need to regroup again. And you're already at 70%. So, the decision at 40% snowballs all the way into getting to overtime at the end of the game. So, you do have, I think, you easily have this skill. So you definitely have these skill sets to make good plays. But as a tank player, you have to understand that you are the one that's supposed to be creating the engagement. And I think that's what you need to work on, is when the proper time is for engagement. And if you're going to play an off-tank role, that's fine. You need to be patient around your other tank player. But if you're definitely, as a main tank player, you need to realize that you creating space and being able to relieve pressure off the team instead of kind of just being a solo type player would go a long way.